What's up, and welcome to another edition of the Cover 2 Recap. I'm Edward Lewis, publisher of BruinsSportsport.com. This is Joey Kaufman, the new OC Register UCLA beat writer. We're here tonight at UCLA, where they just wrapped up their fourth spring ball practice. And Joey, getting some of the news and notes. Takk McKinley was out tonight with a swollen left eye. Jim Moore said he doesn't know how it happened, why it happened, but just said that, quote, he's alive, he'll live. Aaron Sharp made the move to wide receiver today, and actually I thought he looked okay. It looks like that's going to be his permanent move. Moore was saying that he kind of wants to get on the field right away, and he understands it with Rosen and Faithful and Neuheisel ahead of him. It's probably not going to happen. So those were kind of the news and notes of the day. But the other big storyline was obviously Josh Rosen. Took his first starting reps with 11 on 11s and looked fantastic. I had him at 16 for 22 with 226 yards, 2 scores, no picks. Joey, what did you think of his day?
He looked really crisp, and he looked like he moves in the pocket well. I think that was an underrated thing that we didn't think about. He had a couple of rollouts where he rolled out of the pocket and hit a guy downfield. He just looks in command. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He makes the throws. He looks at his reads. He doesn't look like he doesn't have that kind of freshman deer in the headlights kind of look. He looks as if somebody who's been in the system for a couple of years. I mean, there's some times where a couple of practices ago, he had the interception of Willie Green that went for a pick six, but most of the time he looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, in 7 on 7, he had a near pick to Tahan Goodman, and 1-on-1s, he went 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 to start the drill out. So, I mean, it wasn't all masterfully brilliant, but in 11 on 11s, I mean, there were times where I don't think Brett Hundley ran the offense this smoothly in this kind of spring environment, even the last 3 years. So I thought he looked really good there, and I think it's becoming very, very obvious, at least through 4 practices, that he's the best quarterback. Now, Jim Moore said they might, reevaluate things tonight with where they go from the 2 and 2 and 2, and like they've been doing for the past 4 days. What was your take on what they're going to do moving forward with Rosen in the quarterback competition?
I generally like what they've done so far. I think because they want to give 4 guys a shot, that it doesn't make a ton of sense to divide them up by 4 per practice, because as they've talked about, you give a guy 5 reps, a new guy comes in 5 reps. You don't allow any of them to establish a rhythm. You don't really get a good evaluation of a guy because you don't get to see him make a mistake and then, all right, go back there and try and correct your mistake. It's like you make a mistake and you're done. So I think generally the way they've done it through the first 2 weeks of practice or so has made sense to me. But going forward, because you only get 15 practices here in the spring, you need to start eliminating some guys, and you're not going to be able to give 4 guys reps. You're not going to be able to give 4 guys reps equally throughout the rest of the spring and get a starter ready. So at some point, you got to kind of maybe go down to 2 guys and start figuring out who's going to be your starting quarterback. I don't think you need to do that tonight, but at some point, second half of spring practice, you kind of want that in place.
If he does go to 2 guys, which the next practice is Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., who are the 2?
Probably Jerry Neuheisel and Josh Rosen, I would say. I think they do different things, and it is, I think, a legit competition. Rosen will kind of blow you away with the physical tools, but Jerry's, I think, a lot better in terms of his ball placement, a lot better touch. Sometimes Rosen tends to throw a fastball in there, and one of the guys, I don't remember who it was, but dropped it. It was about a 15-yard out route downfield, and Rosen just fires it, and he didn't really need to fire it. So that's something he'll need to work on, I think.
Kenny Walker actually said, that was the difference between the 2. Rosen has a heater, and Neuheisel is more of a soft touch, and sometimes you need both. So get in top performers. Who did you like today, and why?
We're going to stick with the Rosen theme. I don't know who there are other guys, but Rosen, I think, really stood out to me just because it was his first day. Full pads, 11 on 11s, and he really kind of was in command of the offense, so I think he needs to be included in there.
I had 2 top performers. I liked Connor McDermott, the left tackle, a lot today. I thought he was a brick wall, and Jim Moore kind of talked about him after the practice and said he could be a special kind of player, and he's really morphing into that kind of maybe, top, high round pick kind of guy. I mean, with the athleticism he has and his ability to recover. There was one play, Deion Hollins kind of beat him on the initial step, and the way he was able to move his feet and recover, it was just special. He's having a really good spring so far. And my other guy was Marcus Rios, the cornerback. He's coming off of that weird sinus injury and had a good season last year, but really coming on strong. I think he and Fabian Moreau have been the 2 top cornerbacks in spring so far, and today he had a couple pass breakups on Eldridge Masson and thought he's having a really good camp and probably is the leader for the starting cornerback spot opposite of Fabian Moreau and the nickel with Ishmael Adams sliding down. You had one other top performer, a repeat guy, Jaleel Wadood. Why?
He was great in one-on-ones. Well, he had a tackle for loss in 11 on 11s too, but he was during the one-on-ones, he was constantly aggressive, constantly breaking up plays. I should also mention, I think Zach Bateman's been pretty good at that left guard spot. He's been with the second team today, but he's really kind of bulldozing and helping Nate Starks a lot with the running game. So he's another, I think, guy. Those 2 guys have stood out to me pretty much throughout the whole camp.
That'll wrap up our coverage of day 4. You can follow Joey's coverage of UCLA on Twitter at Joey R. Kaufman. You can follow me on Twitter at Edward_Lewis. Until the next time, thanks for tuning in to the Cover 2 Recap.